What would you do if, after a lifetime of fighting for your place at the table, you boarded a plane and were told you didn't belong? Imagine stepping into first class, dressed with quiet confidence, carrying the weight of your achievements and sacrifices, only to be met with suspicion, icy smiles, and thinly veiled hostility. What would run through your mind as every glance became a silent accusation, every request a new challenge, every moment a test of your worth? Dr. Naomi Sinclair is one of the most powerful women in American business, a biotech CEO, a builder of bridges, a mother, a daughter. But today, at 30,000 feet, her dignity is put on trial in front of strangers. Would the world have her back, or would silence win again? How much does your seat cost when the price is your own humanity? And if you were in her shoes, would you stand up, or would you be the one who looks away? Before we begin this extraordinary true story of humiliation, resistance, and the shocking fallout that changed an entire industry, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss what happens next. The first thing Dr. Naomi Sinclair notices is the coldness in the air, sharper than the chilled glass doors at Liberty Skyport in Chicago. There is a unique chill that comes not from temperature, but from the way people glance, then look away. It is 5:30 in the morning. Naomi stands just outside the premium check-in, suitcase in one hand, briefcase in the other, phone balanced on her wrist like a shield. She is dressed in a navy wool blazer, pressed white blouse, slacks cut perfectly at the ankle, simple black loafers, no designer logos, nothing flashy, everything clean and deliberate. For Naomi, understatement is armor. There is a humming anxiety in the terminal, the quiet bustle of seasoned travelers. Overhead, an announcement, Vanguard Airlines flight, HO8 boarding in 40 minutes. Naomi exhales, adjusting the strap on her briefcase. She is used to this world. Still, even now, she cannot completely relax. Behind her, a mother scolds a sleepy child. At the coffee stand, two men in matching suits laugh over their phones. She glances at her reflection in the glass, catching the shape of her own fatigue. It has been a long week. She thinks briefly of her daughter, Eva, who is at home with Jada Brooks, her trusted assistant, helping prepare for a science competition. For a moment, Naomi's expression softens. She texts a quick message. "Don't forget breakfast for Eva. Good luck on her project today." Jada replies instantly. 2 heart emojis and a promise to send photos. The day stretches ahead, a flight to San Francisco, a board meeting at 10, a keynote she is not nervous for. Not exactly, but always wants to deliver well. Naomi steps forward, blending into the line for first-class check-in. At the counter, the gate agent, Thomas Gallagher, greets the passenger in front of her with warmth. "Good morning, Mr. Bradley. Welcome back." There is small talk, a smile. Mr. Bradley is waved through in moments. Naomi is next. She hands over her ID and ticket. Thomas glances at them, then at her face, then back again at the name. He does not smile. There is a barely perceptible pause. "Your destination is San Francisco, yes," Naomi replies, steady and soft. He scans the barcode, still watching her. "May I see your company ID as well?" Naomi's breath catches, only for a second. She has been here before, 100 times, certainly. She produces her Genesis Biotech badge, holding it out with the same poise she uses for investors. Thomas nods, but his eyes flicker, as if searching for the catch, as if waiting for her to make a mistake. He types something into the computer. A woman in the line behind Naomi sighs audibly. Thomas finally nods. All set. Boarding will begin soon. Enjoy your flight. His voice is polite, but the tone is flat. No welcome back, no smile. Naomi steps away, the relief laced with a quiet sadness she never lets show. She settles on a bench nearby, fingers moving across her phone, checking emails, skimming through meeting agendas. She tries to focus, but her mind drifts back to Thomas's look. She tells herself not to dwell, to let it go, but there is always the same sting. She remembers her mother's words. Don't let the world decide who you are. Jada texts again. Did you get through security all right? Naomi types back. I'm fine. See you on the other side. She glances up as a new announcement echoes through the terminal. Vanguard Airlines Flight 808 to San Francisco. First class pre-boarding in 10 minutes. Naomi stands, smooths her jacket, and wheels her suitcase toward the gate. The concourse is waking up. Shops unlock their doors. The coffee aroma deepens. A young man in athletic gear jogs past, earbuds in, oblivious to the undercurrents that mark other people's mornings. At the gate, she joins the first-class lane. There are only 6 others, an elderly woman with pearls and a designer scarf, 2 men in navy suits, a couple quietly arguing over seat assignments, and a tall, broad-shouldered man scrolling through stock reports. The gate attendant, Megan Porter, is brisk and efficient, greeting the men in suits with cheerful small talk. When Naomi steps forward, Megan's eyes pause on her ticket, then move up to Naomi's face. The smile dims by a few degrees. I'll just need to double-check something, Megan says, not quite meeting Naomi's gaze. She steps away, conferring with Thomas at the desk. Their words are a low murmur, punctuated by glances in Naomi's direction. The tall man, Colin Fraser, notices and gives Naomi a sidelong look, one eyebrow raised. She holds his gaze evenly, then turns away. A minute later, Megan returns. Thank you for your patience. Ms. Sinclair, please proceed. Her voice is smooth, but the subtext is clear. Naomi nods, silent. As she walks down the jet bridge, she feels the familiar mix of anticipation and dread. She is grateful for the quiet before the next round. She thinks of her grandmother, who worked nights in the city so her children could dream. Naomi inhales slowly. She straightens her shoulders and steps onto the plane. The cabin of Vanguard's Dreamliner is softly lit, blue and gold tones echoing luxury. There is the faintest whiff of lemon from the towels stacked neatly by the door. A young attendant, Alex Kim, greets her with a gentle nod. Welcome aboard, Dr. Sinclair. His voice is warm, and Naomi gives him a small, grateful smile. She finds her seat 2A, window, spacious, with an elegant leather headrest. She places her briefcase in the overhead, her suitcase beneath the seat in front of her. She sits, smoothing her slacks, and finally exhales. A few minutes later, Mrs. Ruth Chandler, the woman with the pearls, arrives and claims 2B, right beside Naomi. Ruth's perfume, floral and old-fashioned, fills the air. Ruth glances at Naomi, offers a quick, perfunctory smile, and begins unpacking her reading glasses, her Kindle, her medication case, arranging her space with practiced precision. Naomi checks her phone again. A meeting reminder pops up. Reminder BOD, 10:00 a.m. PST, SFO HQ, over the intercom. Megan Porter's voice is crisp. First-class passengers. We will be offering a pre-flight beverage shortly. Please let your attendant know if you have any requests. Naomi's mind cycles through the day-ahead presentations, negotiation points, a mental checklist she's refined over years. She lets her gaze wander out the window. watching the sun rise pale over the runway. But in the back of her mind, a quiet unease lingers. She wonders, will today be the day something finally breaks, or will it be like all the others? Her phone vibrates again, Jada's final text before takeoff. "You got this. The world just has to catch up." Naomi smiles, tucks her phone away, and settles in as the cabin begins to fill. The calm before the storm is always the most deceptive. Naomi closes her eyes for a moment and lets the hush of the cabin wrap around her. She's learned to treasure these pockets of quiet before takeoff. To anyone watching, she might seem completely at ease, another business traveler beginning her day. But inside, 1,000 thoughts flicker. She checks her watch, taps her phone, and runs through her mental itinerary again. Focus. Naomi, you've done this 100 times. This is just another flight. The other first-class passengers arrive in a slow, steady stream. Their conversations hum with restrained energy. Colin Fraser, the tall man from the gate, sinks into 1A and immediately claims both armrests, scrolling through emails on his phone. He glances at Naomi, his eyes flicking from her shoes to her face, then back to his phone. The couple from the gate settle across the aisle, whispering about their honeymoon and snapping selfies. The air shifts as Megan Porter steps into the aisle, a clipboard in hand. Her shoes click softly on the carpet. Naomi feels her presence before she hears her voice. Megan stops by Naomi's seat, her smile practiced but chilly. "Good morning, Dr. Sinclair. May I see your boarding pass again? Please." Naomi hands it over without hesitation, maintaining eye contact. Megan studies the ticket for an uncomfortably long moment, as if expecting it to transform into something else in her hand. Then, with a curt nod, she hands it back. "Thank you. Just a standard verification," she says, her tone clipped. As Megan moves on, Naomi feels Ruth Chandler's gaze settle on her. Ruth is adjusting her seat controls, trying to find the right angle for her legs. "Isn't it odd," Ruth says, half whispering, "that they're so particular about the tickets these days?" Naomi's smile is polite, but doesn't quite reach her eyes. "I suppose security is everyone's priority," she replies, careful not to sound defensive. Ruth hums, unsatisfied. She resumes arranging her things, occasionally glancing at Naomi's hands as if expecting to see something out of place. The pre-flight service begins. Alex Kim glides down the aisle with a tray of drinks, his movements graceful, voice soft. He offers orange juice, champagne, and sparkling water to Colin and the newlyweds, pouring the beverages into crystal glasses. When he reaches Naomi, there's a slight pause. "Would you care for anything to drink?" "Dr. Sinclair water's fine." "Thank you," Naomi replies. Alex pours water, but instead of reaching for a glass, he hesitates, then pours it into a clear plastic cup. Naomi catches the subtle apology in his eyes as he hands it over. She accepts the cup, her hand steady, her face unreadable. She is used to this. Small things, easy to explain away, but she documents it anyway, snapping a quick photo of the plastic cup beside the crystal flutes, sliding her phone into her pocket before anyone notices. Megan circles back, pausing by Naomi's seat once more. "If you need assistance with your bags, let me know." "We want to make sure all passengers are comfortable," Megan says. "I'm perfectly comfortable," Naomi responds. "Thank you." There's a slight tension in her voice, barely perceptible to anyone but herself. She wonders if she should say more, but decides against it. She is here to do her job, to reach her destination. to represent herself with dignity. Let them be uncomfortable with her presence if they must. Across the aisle, Colin Fraser watches, eyes narrowed in mild amusement. Naomi senses his scrutiny, but she refuses to meet his gaze. She's learned not to give men like him the satisfaction. The minutes tick by. Passengers continue to board. Naomi glances out the window, watching as baggage handlers load suitcases into the hold below. She wonders, briefly, what story each traveler carries in their bags. Who else on this flight is holding back a lifetime of silent battles? Jada's text from earlier floats back to her. You got this. Naomi grips the armrest, remembering the early days of Genesis Biotech, when she'd had to prove herself over and over, not just in boardrooms, but in every handshake, every introduction. How many times had she smiled through discomfort, determined not to let anyone see her flinch? The overhead bins close with soft thuds. The cabin feels smaller now, the air heavier. Megan's voice comes over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Vanguard Airlines and your flight crew, welcome aboard Flight 808 service to San Francisco. Please ensure your seatbelts are fastened and electronic devices are in airplane mode. Naomi follows the instructions automatically. She takes a steadying breath, smoothing her blazer, collecting herself for whatever comes next. A sudden commotion breaks her concentration. Thomas Gallagher, the gate agent from earlier, appears in the cabin, walking straight down the aisle with Megan at his side. They stop in front of Naomi's seat. The eyes of the entire first-class cabin shift to her. Conversations dying in mid-sentence. Ms. Sinclair, Thomas says. Voice low, but formal. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to verify your identification once again. Naomi feels the prickle of embarrassment rising up her neck. She keeps her face calm. Certainly, she replies, producing her ID with a steady hand. Thomas examines the card, then the ticket, then back again. Megan stands beside him, arms folded, her posture defensive. Ruth Chandler leans closer, watching the scene unfold with thinly veiled curiosity. After a moment that feels far too long, Thomas nods. Thank you, Dr. Sinclair. Enjoy your flight. They leave, but the eyes in the cabin remain. Naomi can feel them lingering, appraising, questioning. She sinks back in her seat, fighting the urge to retreat inward, to make herself smaller. She reminds herself that she has every right to be here. She earned this seat. She paid for this seat. Alex Kim reappears, this time offering warm towels. He places a fresh, thick towel in Colin Fraser's hands, then to the newlyweds. When he reaches Naomi, his tray is empty. I'll be right back with another towel, he murmurs. But by the time he returns, the seatbelt sign has come on and he is called away. Naomi watches as Ruth Chandler dabs her hands delicately, not offering a word. The engines begin to whir. Naomi's pulse quickens, but she grounds herself, closing her eyes for a moment. She hears her mother's voice, gentle but strong. Don't shrink for anyone. Naomi, not for anyone. As the plane pushes back from the gate, Megan walks by once more, eyes sweeping the cabin, lingering just a beat longer on Naomi's row. For a brief second, Naomi wonders if this is going to be another flight she'll want to forget, or the one she will never forgive. She takes out her phone and, with a small but decisive gesture, opens the voice recording app. Just in case, not out of paranoia, but out of long experience. The safety video plays. Naomi listens, but her mind is elsewhere on her family, her company, the 1,000 quiet ways a black woman learns to protect her dignity. The plane rumbles down the runway, wheels leaving the ground. Naomi glances out at the clouds. determined that whatever storms may come inside this metal tube, she will face them with her head high. Naomi takes a steady breath as the plane climbs, engines humming beneath her feet. Outside the window, Chicago shrinks away, city lights dissolving into morning haze. She glances down at her hands, fingers still wrapped around the plastic cup Alex gave her earlier. The water inside is barely touched. She tries to convince herself it doesn't matter, but she feels the weight of that cup as keenly as a stone in her palm. She glances sideways. Ruth Chandler is meticulously unpacking her purse, spreading out an array of travel-sized luxuries on her tray: silk scarf, hand cream, imported mints, a small glass perfume bottle. The gesture is practiced, deliberate, a subtle performance of belonging. Ruth pulls out her iPad, scrolling through what looks like an endless collection of historical novels. Across the aisle, Colin Fraser is already settled into his seat, feet up, shoes off, working on his laptop as if the cabin were his own office. He accepts a refill of champagne from Alex without looking up. The glass glitters, catching sunlight that has just breached the clouds. Naomi's phone vibrates with a silent alert. She checks the screen, a calendar notification for her board presentation in 4 hours. She puts the phone down and picks up her own notebook instead, jotting a quick reminder run numbers on clinical trial update, refined closing statement. The pages are dotted with notes and little checkboxes, a habit she started in college, a way of creating order amid chaos. Alex returns to the aisle, this time with a basket of pastries. He starts with the newlyweds, then Colin, then Ruth. When he gets to Naomi, the basket is almost empty. Only a bruised croissant and a stale-looking scone remain. Naomi's stomach tightens, but she keeps her expression neutral. "I'm sorry, Dr. Sinclair," Alex whispers, glancing quickly at Megan, who is watching from the galley. "We'll have more options during breakfast service." "Thank you," Naomi says softly. She selects the croissant, sets it on her napkin, and pushes aside the plastic cup. She finds herself wishing for the anonymity of economy class, where no one pays attention and expectations are low. Ruth leans over slightly, voice pitched just above a whisper. "Traveling for work? Must be nice, getting upgraded to first." She doesn't quite make eye contact. Naomi looks up, giving Ruth the same gentle smile she has perfected for these moments. "I'm traveling for business. Yes, it's not an upgrade. I booked the ticket myself." Ruth's eyebrows rise in mild surprise, as if this is an unexpected answer. She adjusts her scarf, a subtle sign of discomfort. "Oh, well, these days anyone can get into first class with enough points. My nephew used to fly business until he found out how easy it was to get an upgrade." Naomi feels the familiar ache in her chest. She wants to reply, to explain that this seat was purchased, that she's worked decades for these moments, that no one has ever handed her anything. But she knows from experience that some explanations are never really heard. She turns back to her notebook. On the page, she draws a small circle, shading it in until the pen nearly pierces the paper. Megan appears in the aisle, holding a clipboard. She leans in toward Alex, whispering something while glancing at Naomi's row. Naomi catches only fragments of their conversation. "Just make sure. Protocol. Special requests. Need to check again." Megan straightens and moves down the aisle, eyes scanning the other passengers. Naomi senses the tension in Alex's posture, a discomfort that doesn't belong to her, but is somehow directed at her all the same. Breakfast service begins. Naomi is last to be served. She receives an omelet, toast, a single pat of butter in a plastic packet. Ruth's tray, by contrast, is adorned with fresh fruit, a yogurt parfait, and a cinnamon roll. Alex hesitates, meeting Naomi's eyes for the briefest moment. She nods, wordless, silently signaling that it's all right. She can bear this. Colin Fraser calls out from across the aisle, his tone loud and casual. "Could I get another mimosa? And, maybe a real cup for it this time." He laughs, flashing a grin at Megan. She responds with a tinkling laugh of her own. "Certainly. Mr. Fraser?" She brings out a new crystal glass, wipes it in front of him, and pours the drink with a flourish. The performance is unmistakable. Naomi watches this exchange, her hands resting quietly on her tray. She cannot help but notice the differences. She records them in her mind, one by one, building a quiet case she knows she may never use. In her chest, something tightens. She thinks of her daughter Eva, who will one day enter rooms and cabins like this, facing the same unspoken rules. She wants to believe she can make things better, but change always feels impossibly slow. She glances at the seat back in front of her, at the in-flight magazine's cover, a smiling woman of color, arms crossed in a pose of confidence. Beneath the headline, "Diversity Takes Flight." Naomi nearly laughs at the irony, but instead she closes her eyes. She drifts for a moment, memory surfacing a high school debate, a panel of judges skeptical of her abilities, the one teacher who believed in her. She hears that teacher's voice now. "You belong in every room you enter. Don't let anyone decide otherwise." The cabin is quiet, except for the soft rustle of newspapers and the clink of cutlery. Naomi picks up her fork and eats. Each bite tastes like duty. She glances down at her hands and sees they are steady. As Alex collects breakfast trays, he gives her an apologetic look. "If you need anything, please let me know," he says softly. Naomi meets his gaze. "Thank you, Alex." She lets the words linger. A lifeline of empathy, a shared recognition in a space designed to isolate. Megan Porter reappears, this time holding a list. She moves from row to row, confirming meal preferences, addresses, and special needs. When she gets to Naomi, her tone shifts, losing its rehearsed sweetness. "Ms. Sinclair, do you have any dietary restrictions? Anything we should be aware of?" Naomi replies, "But thank you for asking." Megan lingers just a little too long, as if searching for something else to question. Naomi simply smiles, unwavering. The seatbelt sign dings on. Naomi turns her face toward the window. Outside, the clouds are a clean white, undisturbed, moving steadily westward. She lets herself rest for a few minutes, breathing in time with the sky. But inside, her mind is wide awake. She knows that on this flight, belonging is a performance, and the script was written long before she ever took her seat. Naomi shifts in her seat as the flight levels out above the clouds. The golden light spilling through the window reminds her of home. Those early mornings when she'd sneak into her mother's kitchen, feet cold on linoleum, dreaming big and feeling safe. But up here, safety is something she constructs for herself, a shield of silence and self-control. She runs her hand over the soft leather armrest, grounding herself in the present. The first-class cabin is settling into its quiet rituals. Screens glow with the blue light of news and stock tickers. There's the soft jangle of silver bracelets as Ruth Chandler flips pages in her book. The metallic clink as Colin Fraser folds his laptop shut. All around her, comfort comes easy to some. Naomi feels every tiny difference in how comfort is offered to others, withheld from her. She does not want to focus on it, but the feeling accumulates like static. Alex Kim approaches with a tray of after-breakfast coffee and hot towels. He smiles at Naomi, a small, genuine gesture, but she can see the exhaustion in his eyes. He is moving quickly, perhaps too quickly. Megan watches him, eyes sharp, her posture rigid. Alex pours coffee for Ruth in a delicate white porcelain cup, then hesitates with Naomi, finally producing a paper cup from beneath the tray. "Thank you, Alex," Naomi says, her tone soft but edged with fatigue. Their eyes meet for an instant. She senses his apology, unspoken but real. Colin Fraser stretches, rising from his seat and blocking the aisle for a moment as he adjusts his suit jacket. He glances down at Naomi's cup, an amused smirk curling at the corner of his mouth. For a brief second, she wonders if he will say something. Instead, he turns his attention to Megan. "Another espresso?" "Please," Colin says, the words rolling off his tongue like a command. Megan nods and disappears into the galley. Across the aisle, the newlywed couple whisper, oblivious to the tension. Ruth Chandler sighs dramatically as she closes her book, looking around for attention. She leans toward Naomi again. "These flights used to feel so much more exclusive," Ruth confides, as if sharing a secret with a confidant. "It's all different now." Naomi wonders who Ruth means by these flights, who she imagines as us. "I suppose times change," Naomi replies. She gives Ruth a gentle smile and turns back to her notes. Ruth's face hardens. "I just wish things felt safer." You know, Naomi lets the words settle. She's heard them before, in boardrooms and coffee shops, in lines at the grocery store. She understands their meaning, the kind of coded language that tells you you're not quite welcome, not quite trusted. It's the same language that echoes in her memory from a dozen cities, 100 doors opened and then closed. The seatbelt sign chimes. Megan's voice comes over the intercom, cheerfully announcing that turbulence is expected. As the plane dips slightly, Colin's mimosa sloshes in his glass, a few drops landing on the armrest between him and Naomi. He laughs. "Well, that's what you get for flying commercial," he says, wiping the spill with his napkin. He glances at Naomi, eyes lingering on her hands. "You might want to be careful. These seats stain easily." Naomi feels the words as a challenge. She calmly wipes the armrest, refusing to respond to the bite. In her chest, irritation sparks, but she buries it deep. Megan reappears, standing in the aisle with her clipboard. "Ms. Sinclair, could I speak with you for a moment?" Megan's tone is polite, but there is an unmistakable chill. "Of course," Naomi replies, keeping her voice steady. Megan crouches slightly, her posture at odds with her rigid voice. "We're having some issues with our records. There's been a discrepancy regarding your ticket. Would you mind showing your boarding pass again?" Naomi produces it without comment, keeping her face expressionless. Megan studies it, eyes moving over the barcode, the seat number, the name. Megan's lips tighten. "Thank you. We'll need a few minutes to verify. It's just a routine check." Naomi nods. She knows what this is. She's lived it, in hotels and car rentals, at conference receptions and bank counters. The performance is always the same, polite, professional, distant. Colin leans back in his seat, his expression smug. Ruth tries not to look, but Naomi feels her gaze all the same. Naomi glances out the window, searching for calm. She thinks about her daughter, Eva, and the lessons she will have to teach her. She imagines Eva sitting here one day, navigating the same labyrinth of unspoken rules. Alex passes by, quietly clearing plates. He pauses by Naomi. "Is everything all right, Dr. Sinclair?" His voice is low, cautious. Naomi offers him a reassuring smile. I'm fine. Alex, thank you. But inside, the familiar exhaustion grows. She wonders how many more times she will have to prove she belongs. She wishes, for a brief second, that she could disappear into anonymity, fade into the crowd the way some people do so effortlessly. Megan returns, this time with Thomas Gallagher, the gate agent. The cabin seems to quiet even further. Passengers sense something unfolding, their attention sharpening. Ms. Sinclair, Thomas says, I'm afraid there's a continued issue with your ticket. Would you mind stepping into the galley for a moment? Naomi hesitates, measuring the risk. She decides not to give them the satisfaction of hesitation. She rises, collecting her phone and boarding pass, and follows them to the small galley at the front of the cabin. The space is cramped, the hum of the engines loud in her ears. Megan and Thomas stand close, the door to the cabin left just barely ajar. We just want to confirm a few details, Megan says. There have been reports of fraudulent ticket purchases recently, and we have to be careful. Naomi feels a flush rise in her cheeks, shame and anger intertwining. Her mind flashes with questions. Is it her name, her face, or simply that she does not look like what they expect to see in this space? She holds out her ID again, her Genesis biotech badge. She meets their eyes, her voice calm. Is there a specific problem with my documentation? Thomas avoids her gaze. Megan frowns at the badge, flipping it over as if searching for a hidden flaw. No, not at this time. We just need to be thorough. We'll escort you back to your seat. Naomi breathes in, steadies herself, and follows them back to her row. She feels the eyes of the cabin on her, the judgment, the silent questions. As she sits, she looks out at the clouds once more. She vows silently that she will not shrink. Not now, not ever. Naomi settles back into her seat, feeling the press of judgment from all sides. She slides her phone into her lap, thumb hovering above the record button. Her mind is a flurry of calculations. What will I say if they escalate this further? What happens if I stand my ground? What example am I setting not only for myself, but for Eva, for Jada, for every young woman who watches what I do and how I do it? Ruth Chandler fidgets next to her, clearly uncomfortable. The air between them is thick with unsaid things. Ruth smooths her skirt, glancing sideways at Naomi with an awkward attempt at a smile. Colin Fraser, meanwhile, is openly watching the front of the cabin, as if expecting a show. His phone rests on his knee, camera app quietly open. Naomi wonders if he's recording for proof, for entertainment, or just in case he needs to defend himself later. Megan Porter returns. Her posture is firm, voice steady but sharper now. Dr. Sinclair, I need to ask you again to produce identification and your boarding pass. Our system still cannot confirm your purchase. Naomi's voice is calm and measured, though she can feel her pulse in her fingertips. I've already provided both multiple times. If there's an actual issue, I'd like a clear explanation. Otherwise, I respectfully request you treat me the same as every other passenger in this cabin. A hush falls over first class. Even the newlyweds have stopped whispering. The tension is a living thing now, crawling up the walls and settling over everyone. Ruth looks down at her lap, visibly shrinking. Alex Kim, tray in hand, pauses in the aisle, concern written on his face. Colin leans in, his words pitched for others to hear. Maybe you should just do what they ask, he says. It'll be easier for everyone. Naomi meets his eyes, unwavering. I am doing exactly what's required of any passenger. Nothing more, nothing less. Megan's jaw tightens. She glances at Thomas Gallagher, who now stands at the curtain, blocking the way to the rest of the plane. There's a flash of frustration in Megan's eyes, a moment of uncertainty, perhaps even doubt. But her professionalism wins out. She addresses Naomi, her words clipped. "If you refuse to comply, I'll have no choice but to escalate this to the captain." Naomi's voice is steady. "Please do." She feels her heart pounding, but she will not let it show. She knows the script, how quickly the narrative can turn, how easily resistance can be labeled as aggression. She fights the urge to shrink into her seat, to apologize for her existence. Instead, she straightens her back and folds her hands in her lap. Alex moves toward Naomi's row, eyes darting between her and Megan. "Is everything all right here?" His tone is gentle but assertive. Megan snaps, "This is a private matter. Alex, please continue your duties." Alex hesitates, then nods, but not before giving Naomi a look that says, "I see you. You're not alone." Colin, emboldened, leans forward. "We all just want to get to San Francisco without delays." Why make a scene? Naomi resists the urge to laugh. Scene. She thinks, "I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to fly." She bites back the retort and instead focuses on her breathing, channeling her frustration into focus. Moments later, Captain Luis Rivera enters the first-class cabin. He is tall, with salt and pepper hair, his uniform immaculate. He looks at Megan, then at Naomi, then at the silent, tense faces of the other passengers. Captain Rivera speaks with calm authority. "Dr. Sinclair, my crew has informed me of a ticket discrepancy. May I see your documentation one more time?" Naomi hands over her documents. Her fingers are steady, her gaze unbroken. Captain Rivera inspects her ticket, her ID, her company badge, and even checks the app on his tablet. After a long, silent moment, he looks up. "Your credentials appear to be in order. I see no irregularity," Captain Rivera says, his voice neutral but firm. "Megan, please return Dr. Sinclair's documents." There's a beat of silence. Relief sweeps through the cabin, but the relief is brittle, edged with suspicion and resentment. Megan's face flushes as she hands back Naomi's ID and ticket. Naomi nods, her gratitude for the captain unspoken but real. She glances at Alex, who meets her eyes with a brief smile. Ruth shifts in her seat, murmuring something Naomi can't quite hear. Captain Rivera addresses the cabin. "We apologize for the delay and thank you for your patience. Please enjoy the rest of your flight." He turns to leave, but Megan lingers. She looks at Naomi as if she wants to say something more, perhaps even apologize, but she holds back. Instead, she stalks toward the galley, anger tightening her movements. Naomi exhales, allowing herself a moment of quiet. She presses the record button on her phone, documenting her own thoughts in a voice memo. Flight 808 Vanguard Airlines. First class. 3 requests for ID. Unexplained delays. No explanation offered. I have done nothing except sit in my assigned seat. She saves the recording, a silent record of what most people will never see. Ruth finally breaks the silence, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry," she says, eyes glistening. "This isn't how it's supposed to be." Naomi gives her a gentle smile. "Thank you, Mrs. Chandler, but I'm used to it." Ruth shakes her head. "You shouldn't have to be." Colin turns away, clearly annoyed that the drama is ending without a spectacle. Naomi stares out the window, mind swirling with questions. How many times has this happened to others? How many flights? How many hotel lobbies? How many banks? How many doors she thinks of Eva? The lesson she's passing down: how to be calm in the face of accusation, how to stand your ground without raising your voice, how to document everything. Her phone buzzes with a text from Jada Brooks. "Hope your flight is smooth. Let me know if you need anything." Naomi hesitates, then types back, "Just the usual. I'll call when I land." The rest of first class tries to go back to normal, but the energy is shifted. Naomi feels the tremor of what just happened, the invisible scar it leaves behind. She closes her eyes for a moment, breathing deeply, willing herself not to let bitterness take root. In that quiet space, she promises herself again. She will not be silent. She will not let this pass without a record. She will make sure this matters, not just for her, but for everyone who's ever sat in a seat they were told they didn't deserve. The mood in the first-class cabin is changed, unsettled and raw. Naomi tries to center herself, repeating the words her grandmother used to whisper, "You are not what they call you. You are what you answer to." But it's harder with every glance, every awkward silence. The little disruptions keep coming. Megan Porter lingers near the galley, pretending to check supplies. Naomi sees her whispering to Alex Kim, then to Thomas Gallagher, the gate agent who has not yet returned to his post. Their eyes flick toward Naomi, then away. Ruth Chandler sits stiffly, hands knotted in her lap, lips pressed tight as if trying to hold in an apology she is afraid to voice. Across the aisle, Colin Fraser types furiously on his phone. He glances up, then back at his screen, sending off messages that Naomi suspects are about her. He grins to himself, self-satisfied, convinced that whatever power he has here is unassailable. The captain's announcement comes on. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're expecting light turbulence over Colorado. Please remain seated. Crew, please secure the cabin." His voice is calm, yet Naomi can sense the undertone. He, too, feels the tension. The entire flight has tilted into a strange, self-conscious state. Alex returns to Naomi's row, carrying a tray of snacks. "Would you care for some almonds or fruit, Dr. Sinclair?" His words are gentle, and she's grateful for his kindness, even as she hears Megan hiss in the background. She selects a small bowl of grapes, forcing a smile. "Thank you." "Alex?" Alex hesitates, his voice lowered so only Naomi can hear. "I'm sorry for everything. Some people—" He doesn't finish. Naomi gives him a quiet, understanding nod. Suddenly, Megan is there, her voice loud enough for everyone in the cabin. "Dr. Sinclair, can I speak with you again?" She doesn't wait for a response, but instead turns to the other passengers. "We want to ensure that all our guests feel safe and respected. If anyone has concerns about their comfort or safety, please let us know." Colin jumps at the opportunity. "I'd like to say, this situation is making everyone uncomfortable. Maybe if some people just followed the rules, we wouldn't have these issues." A few passengers murmur agreement. Ruth Chandler looks away, face turning red with embarrassment. The newlyweds exchange nervous glances. Naomi feels heat rising in her chest, but she refuses to let it show. She speaks softly, voice carrying more strength than volume. "I am following every rule. I am sitting in my assigned seat, complying with every request. If there's an actual issue, I'd like it stated clearly." Megan's face tightens. "It's just that there have been some concerns raised by other passengers. If you'd like to move to another seat, perhaps Economy Plus, it might help ease the situation for everyone." Naomi looks at her, astonished. "I paid for this seat. I'm not moving." Colin throws up his hands, dramatic. "Here we go," he says. Now it's going to be a whole thing. A murmur ripples through the cabin. Some passengers pull out their phones, openly recording the exchange. Naomi notices one young black man in row 4-0. She will later learn his name is Deshaun Miles, raising his phone and aiming it at Megan and Colin. "Excuse me," Deshaun says, his voice clear and steady. "I've been sitting here the whole time, and Dr. Sinclair hasn't done a thing wrong. Maybe the problem isn't her. Maybe it's how she's being treated." For a moment, there's stunned silence. Megan bristles. "Sir, please put your phone away. Filming crew and passengers is against airline policy." Deshaun holds her gaze. "Is it? Or is it only against policy when you don't want people to see what's really happening?" Megan looks flustered. Alex Kim stands quietly in the background, not intervening, but not leaving either. Ruth Chandler finally finds her voice. "Maybe we could all just calm down," she says, her words faltering. "This is all very upsetting." Naomi feels caught in a storm of other people's fears and discomforts. But she draws a deep breath, remembering her purpose, remembering Eva. She thinks about how this video might look to someone who has never been in her position, how it might look to her own daughter someday. She speaks, her voice low but clear. "I'm not moving. I'm not causing trouble. I'm simply traveling to a meeting like anyone else. I won't apologize for that." Thomas Gallagher steps forward, looking uncomfortable, glancing back at Megan. "Maybe we should wait for the captain to handle this," he suggests, his tone uneasy. Megan nods curtly. "Fine. I'll inform the captain that there's a security concern." The word lands with force. Security concern. Naomi knows what that means, knows how quickly it can spiral. She looks at Deshaun, who mouths, "I've got you," his camera still rolling. As Megan disappears up the aisle, the cabin buzzes with nervous energy. Passengers whisper, some in support, some in annoyance, some just hoping for the flight to continue. Naomi sits still, refusing to shrink, refusing to back down. Her hands are steady in her lap, but her heart pounds. Ruth leans over, her voice trembling. "I never thought I'd see this kind of thing in first class. I thought we were better than this." Naomi gives her a sad smile. "So did I." The captain's voice returns, this time less even, more measured. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats while the crew addresses an onboard issue. We appreciate your patience and cooperation." The curtain at the front of the cabin parts. Captain Luis Rivera steps out, face stern, eyes scanning the room. Megan quickly approaches him, whispering furiously. Naomi watches his expression shift as he glances at her, then at Deshaun, then at the recording phones. He steps toward Naomi, every eye in the cabin fixed on him. "Dr. Sinclair, is there a problem here?" She looks up, voice steady but exhausted. "Only that I keep being asked to move seats without cause." Rivera nods, glances at Megan, and says quietly but firmly, "Please return to your duties. I'll handle this." He kneels beside Naomi's seat, lowering his voice. "I'm sorry this has happened. I'll make sure it stops now." Naomi nods, grateful for the first time in hours. She feels the whole cabin watching, the narrative shifting, the tension just beginning to loosen. She knows the storm is not over, but for the first time, she feels seen. Naomi watches Captain Rivera move back toward the cockpit, his voice low and steady as he speaks to Megan, who is now rigid with frustration. The energy in the cabin is electric, uneasy, but for the first time, Naomi senses a shift in the air. She is not alone. Eyes that once looked away now watch with open curiosity or concern. Still, Naomi knows this moment is fragile. The next move could change everything, Colin Fraser mutters under his breath, typing furiously on his phone. He glances around, lips pressed tight, clearly displeased that his flight is no longer proceeding as planned. Ruth Chandler clutches her purse to her chest, knuckles white. Her gaze is fixed on the floor, perhaps in shame, perhaps in fear of being drawn further into the drama. Alex Kim hovers at the edge of the aisle, his face conflicted. He wants to help but is bound by duty, by hierarchy, by rules that were never meant to protect people like Naomi. Naomi catches his eye, offers him a small nod of thanks. Sometimes the most powerful connection is silent. A few rows back, Deshaun Miles is live streaming from his phone, narrating the incident for hundreds, then thousands of viewers as notifications and comments light up his screen. The cabin's tension is no longer private. It is broadcast to the world. Megan approaches again, now with a new sense of urgency. Her voice is controlled, but her words are edged with something sharper than professionalism. Dr. Sinclair, the captain has agreed to let you stay in your seat for now, but you should know that we are reviewing the entire passenger manifest due to a potential security concern. She glances at Deshaun's phone, eyes narrowing, and filming crew members is a violation of our policy. Naomi meets her gaze. I'm aware of the policy. I'm also aware of my rights. Colin raises his voice, eager to tip the balance. Isn't there a rule about disruptive passengers? He's clearly enjoying his role as self-appointed enforcer. Megan straightens her shoulders, nodding toward the back of the cabin. We're doing everything by the book, sir. Naomi feels anger threaten to break through her calm. She squeezes her hands together, holding her composure as her mind races. Is this what it will be remembered for, a spectacle in the sky? A woman put on trial in front of strangers. She feels a pulse of shame, and then, beneath it, a fire. No, she thinks, I refuse to be shamed for existing. Her thoughts drift to Eva, her daughter. She remembers tucking Eva into bed just last night, whispering the same words her mother once gave her. Your voice matters. No one can take away your worth. Naomi breathes deeply, centering herself. She is here not just for herself, but for everyone watching on the plane, on the internet, and at home. Megan makes her way to the intercom, her announcement tight and official. Ladies and gentlemen, due to an onboard situation, we are temporarily pausing service while the crew completes a security review. Please remain in your seats. A wave of nervous whispers passes through the cabin. Naomi glances at Deshaun, who quietly narrates the escalation. You all see this. Right black woman sitting in her seat. Suddenly the whole flight stops. A middle-aged woman 2 rows behind leans forward, voice shaky but firm. Why is this happening? She hasn't done anything. Her companion pulls her back, caution in every gesture. Naomi feels the world closing in, every sound amplified. She picks up her phone, starts a new voice memo, her words soft but steady. I am being publicly questioned and threatened with removal from my seat on Flight 808. I have complied with every request. There is no reason for this except for the assumptions made about who I am and where I belong. Her voice trembles just once before she regains control. She saves the memo, her digital lifeline. For a moment, she wonders if it will make any difference, if anyone in power will care. Suddenly, Megan returns, flanked now by Thomas Gallagher. He holds a tablet, scrolling through lists. Dr. Sinclair, I need you to confirm the last 4 digits of the card you used for your ticket purchase. He holds the device close, as if Naomi's answer will decide her fate. Naomi answers quietly, clearly, her voice never wavering. She provides the numbers. Thomas checks, nods, but Megan's face does not soften. Colin mutters, "There's probably some mistake. You know how easy it is to game these systems." Naomi finally turns to him, eyes fierce but controlled. "Mr. Fraser, if you have a concern about my presence, I suggest you take it up with the airline, not with me." He is startled, taken aback by her directness. Ruth Chandler finally speaks up, voice trembling but honest. "I think she's been treated unfairly. I wish I'd said something sooner." Naomi gives Ruth a grateful look. Sometimes, support comes from the unlikeliest places. The cabin door to the cockpit opens and Captain Rivera returns. His expression is grave but determined. He addresses the entire cabin, his voice echoing in the charged silence. There is no irregularity with Dr. Sinclair's ticket or identity. She is a valued passenger and will remain in her assigned seat. This matter is closed. A ripple of relief, disbelief, and awkwardness moves through the cabin. Colin Fraser leans back, defeated. Megan's face flushes with frustration. Alex Kim closes his eyes, tension melting from his shoulders. Deshaun speaks to his live stream, voice steady. "Y'all saw that. Sometimes the only way to get justice is to shine a light." Naomi exhales slowly, her chest loosening for the first time in hours. She allows herself a small smile, feeling the weight begin to lift. The ordeal is not yet over, but a line has been drawn. She has not moved. She has not yielded. She glances at her phone and sees messages from Jada, full of encouragement. "The world just saw what you did. Boss, proud of you." Naomi tucks her phone away, looking out at the endless sky beyond her window. For the first time on this flight, she lets hope in. As the hush settles over the cabin, Naomi feels her body begin to release some of the tension it's been holding for hours. For a long moment, the only sound is the steady hum of engines and the soft clink of glasses as Alex Kim quietly resumes service. But in the air around her, something is different. Naomi can sense it. The ordeal has become more than just a private humiliation. Now, the boundaries of first class are blurred, each passenger uncomfortably aware that the world is watching. Captain Rivera returns to the cockpit, but Megan Porter lingers by the galley. Her face pinched and uncertain, she scrolls her phone, fingers trembling, and throws quick glances at Naomi. Colin Fraser types out furious messages, face red with frustration, now aware he's lost control of the narrative. Ruth Chandler sits quietly, hands folded over her lap, watching Naomi with a mixture of guilt and curiosity. The newlywed couple avoid eye contact, wishing to melt into their seats. Deshaun Miles continues his live stream, voice steady as he addresses his growing audience. "We're witnessing discrimination. Plain and simple," he says, holding his phone so that both Megan and Naomi are in frame. "This is why we document. This is why we speak up." Alex approaches Naomi with a fresh glass of water. His eyes are tired, but his hands are gentle. "Dr. Sinclair, is there anything else I can get you?" he asks, voice pitched low enough for only her to hear. "Thank you, Alex," Naomi says. "I'm all right. Really." She gives him a quiet, genuine smile, and for a second, something like hope flickers between them, a silent alliance. Megan's radio crackles. She turns away, listening intently, then rushes toward the cockpit. Naomi glances at the window, letting her thoughts drift. She remembers boardrooms where she had to prove herself over and over, investor meetings where her authority was questioned, introductions where her last name was always pronounced as if it didn't belong. She wonders if all of those moments led her here, to this exact seat, on this exact flight. A new announcement sounds from the overhead. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a brief operational delay. Thank you for your patience. Captain Rivera's voice is calm, but everyone in first class knows it's not weather that holds them in place. Alex and another attendant move down the aisle, collecting trash, refilling coffee. Naomi feels the tension in their movements, the anxious looks exchanged between staff. Something is coming. She senses it a change, or perhaps a reckoning. The cabin door to the cockpit opens again. Captain Rivera steps out, this time accompanied by Megan, whose face is drained of color. Rivera pauses, then clears his throat, addressing the cabin in a voice that is both gentle and commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to clarify that Dr. Naomi Sinclair is a valued passenger, and there are no irregularities with her ticket or credentials. She is, in fact, the CEO of Genesis Biotech and a lead partner in our airline's latest public health initiative. I ask for your respect and your patience as we complete this journey. Silence falls, thick and absolute. Colin Fraser's jaw drops. Ruth Chandler gasps softly, covering her mouth. The newlyweds exchange stunned glances. Naomi feels the shift in the air, as all eyes swing back to her, not with suspicion now, but with the uncomfortable shock of realization. She's not just any passenger. She is someone whose name matters, whose presence carries weight. Deshawn's live stream captures every second. His followers explode with comments and fire emojis. Did you all hear that he says? They tried to move a CEO out of her seat. Megan, for the first time, cannot maintain her mask of professionalism. She turns to Naomi, voice trembling. Dr. Sinclair, I didn't realize. I'm so sorry. Naomi meets her gaze, her own voice steady but weary. You shouldn't have to know who someone is to treat them with respect, she says. That's the problem. The words hang in the air, heavy with truth. Captain Rivera nods in agreement. On behalf of Vanguard Airlines, Dr. Sinclair, I sincerely apologize for what you've experienced today. I assure you there will be follow-up and accountability. Ruth Chandler leans over, voice soft and trembling. I'm so sorry for how I acted. Naomi, it wasn't fair. Naomi's lips curve in a gentle, forgiving smile, but her eyes are sad. Thank you. Ruth, I hope we all learned something from this. Colin, red-faced, stammers. If I'd known Naomi cuts him off gently, if you'd known, would you have acted differently? Or would you just have been more careful? She lets the question linger. It is not meant as an accusation, but as a mirror. Colin looks away, silent. Megan, now openly shaken, stands by, awaiting instruction. Naomi glances at her, then at Alex. Thank you both for continuing to do your jobs, she says quietly. But the message is clear. Do your jobs, but do them better. The air in the cabin is altered. Some passengers seem desperate to show sympathy, others uncomfortable with their own silence. Naomi feels exposed, but resolute. She knows there are still battles ahead. There always are, but for this moment, she stands unbroken. Deshawn lowers his phone, offering Naomi a fist bump and a quiet, "Thank you for holding your ground." Naomi takes a long breath, letting herself be fully present. She knows her story will not end here. In fact, this may only be the beginning. She pulls out her notebook, writing a single sentence. Dignity is not negotiable. As the plane resumes its journey, the clouds outside seem softer, the sun brighter, and the atmosphere inside the cabin, at least for now, changed. For a while after the reveal, the cabin is nearly silent. the air thick with discomfort and awe. Naomi remains seated in 2A, her posture composed, her hands folded in her lap, but her mind is working faster than ever. Now that her identity is known, she feels a strange mix of vindication and exhaustion. She wants to believe that what just happened will change something not just for her, but for everyone who's ever felt the sting of being questioned for simply existing in a place they belong. Captain Rivera stands at the front of the cabin, consulting quietly with Megan Porter and Alex Kim. Naomi watches as their body language shifts no longer the casual authority of gatekeepers, but the nervousness of people being watched. Perhaps for the first time, Megan's professional mask has fallen. Her hands shake as she takes notes on a small pad, trying to regain control. Alex stands by, listening closely, glancing often at Naomi as if seeking her approval, or perhaps her forgiveness. Across the aisle, Colin Fraser cannot quite bring himself to meet Naomi's eyes. He is busy with his phone again, but the bravado is gone, replaced by something brittle and uncertain. Ruth Chandler, by contrast, seems deeply affected. She fidgets with her pearl necklace, casting frequent looks at Naomi, as if searching for some sign of hope or redemption. Deshaun Miles, having stopped his live stream, now speaks quietly with other passengers. He tells them, "She handled it better than I ever could have. You all saw what happened." He offers Naomi a nod of respect, and she nods back, grateful for his presence, his courage. The newlyweds across the aisle begin to whisper with a new tone, less gossip, more reflection. Naomi catches snippets. "Did you know who she was? But I feel terrible. We just sat and watched. Maybe we should have said something." Megan approaches Naomi, visibly nervous. "Dr. Sinclair, on behalf of the crew, I want to apologize again for everything that's happened. Please let us know how we can make this right," she says, her voice small and fragile. Naomi considers her words carefully. She could lash out, demand restitution, or let her anger take over. But instead, she chooses clarity and accountability. "Thank you for your apology," Naomi says, "but I'm not looking for special treatment. What I do want is a clear process for complaints like this. I want data transparency, an investigation, and I want your airline to report publicly on discrimination complaints, not just in sanitized numbers, but with real stories, real action." Megan nods, scribbling notes, but her face is uncertain. Naomi continues, "And I want your crew to be part of a new anti-bias training, not a check-the-box module, but something meaningful. You need to understand the impact of these moments, not just for me, but for anyone who walks onto a plane hoping to be treated with basic respect." Captain Rivera returns to Naomi's side, hearing the end of her statement. "Dr. E. Sinclair, those are fair requests. As the senior officer on this flight, I can assure you I will personally report what has happened here. I also want to apologize on behalf of Vanguard Airlines. Your experience today was unacceptable." Naomi meets his gaze, searching for sincerity. "Thank you, Captain. Please remember what matters most is what happens next." Colin Fraser, emboldened by the shift in power, suddenly tries to recover his dignity. "I'd like to apologize as well. Dr. Sinclair," he says, but the words sound hollow, rehearsed. "I let my assumptions get the better of me. It won't happen again." Naomi holds his gaze for a moment. "Thank you for saying so, Mr. Fraser. I hope you'll remember this the next time you're in a position to speak up for someone else." Ruth Chandler finally finds her words. "I want to say sorry as well. I didn't realize how much silence can hurt. If I could do it again, I would have spoken sooner." Naomi gives her a gentle nod, sensing the real remorse in Ruth's trembling voice. Sometimes silence is the loudest thing in the room. Ruth, we can all do better. Deshawn chimes in, loud enough for others to hear. It takes courage to speak up, but it takes more to admit when you should have and didn't. Naomi lets these words hang in the air, heavy with truth. She feels the cabin shifting, as if the walls themselves are absorbing the lesson. The intercom sounds again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Rivera. I want to assure you that your feedback matters and will be addressed. Thank you for your patience. As the plane continues westward, service resumes, but everything feels different. Alex Kim returns with a tray of drinks, his hands no longer shaking. He sets a glass of sparkling water at Naomi's elbow, this time in real crystal. There is a hint of pride in his small gesture, a silent acknowledgement of what's just passed. Passengers begin to speak to Naomi, some quietly, some with embarrassment, all with the weight of recent events in their voices. Naomi listens to each, never dismissing their discomfort. She knows real change begins not just with big moments, but with 100 small acknowledgments of humanity. Her phone buzzes with a message from Jada Brooks saw the video already going viral. The world is watching. Naomi, you just changed more than your own story, Naomi types back. We're not done yet. I'll call you when I land. She leans back, feeling the press of fatigue. She is proud, yes, but also aware of how much energy it takes to keep one's dignity in the face of adversity. She lets herself rest for a moment, closing her eyes as the hum of the engines carries her forward. The storm has broken, but the aftermath, the judgment, the need for justice, the promise of accountability has only begun. For Naomi, the true work is not just in surviving the moment, but in making sure that no one else has to fight the same battle, in the same way, ever again. The hours pass, but Naomi doesn't sleep. She sits quietly in 2A, chin in hand, looking out at the endless quilt of clouds. For the first time since the flight began, the hush around her is not cold or suspicious. It's an odd sort of reverence, like everyone is waiting for her to say what comes next. She doesn't seek it, but she understands its weight. Service continues, and for a while the plane feels like any other flight. Alex Kim, now visibly more confident, brings her fresh fruit, a proper coffee, and checks in often. Ruth Chandler keeps glancing at Naomi, hoping to find forgiveness or even just understanding. Colin Fraser is sunk into silence, his phone now dark in his hands. It would be so easy to just close her eyes, let the world pass by outside the window, and think only of home. But Naomi's mind races. She turns her notebook pages, scribbling phrases and reminders. She drafts an email to her corporate communications team, outlining what happened details, not just outrage. She wants this documented, not as revenge, but as precedent. Her phone buzzes again. Another message from Jada Brooks' media requests are coming in already. Let me know how you want to handle this. Naomi doesn't reply right away. She's tired, but she's also thoughtful. This story is bigger than her, and she needs to carry it with the same care she uses for every decision at Genesis Biotech. Deshawn Miles, the young entrepreneur who spoke up, stops by her row when the aisle is clear. He leans in, his voice quiet but urgent. I just wanted to say thank you. You could have kept quiet or just used your title to shut it down. But you didn't. You made us all braver. Naomi gives him a genuine smile. Thank you. Deshawn, you didn't have to record, but you did. People need to see what these moments are really like. Deshawn's eyes are thoughtful, My mom used to say, if you don't tell your story, someone else will, and they'll always get it wrong. Naomi nods. That's exactly right. He returns to his seat, and Naomi feels a little less alone in the world. It's a comfort that sits deep in her bones. Hours later, Megan Porter returns with a small box premium chocolates, a soft apology in her hands. Dr. Sinclair, I know it's not enough, but I wanted to say I'm sorry again. We get trained to follow procedures, but we don't always stop to think who writes those procedures or who they're really for. Naomi accepts the chocolates, but her reply is gentle and pointed. You have a chance now. Don't waste it. Use your voice the next time you see it happening to someone who can't fight back. That's how things change. Megan nods, her face red with emotion. She doesn't say more, but her eyes linger on Naomi with something like hope, or maybe resolve. Captain Rivera calls Naomi to the front, inviting her into the cockpit for a private word. He explains how Vanguard Airlines will begin an internal review as soon as they land. He promises direct follow-up and asks Naomi for her recommendations. She is deliberate in her suggestions. Start with transparency, she says. Make real training mandatory. Change the way complaints are logged and shared. And don't just apologize after the fact. Be present before the problem begins. Captain Rivera thanks her, his gratitude sincere. He offers his card, promising to keep her updated. Naomi takes it, adding it to a small pile of contacts she never expected to make this morning. Returning to her seat, Naomi sees Ruth Chandler waiting for her. Ruth's hands are shaking, her voice thin. I've spent my life believing that silence was the polite thing to do, Ruth says. But I see now it's just another way of saying nothing changes. Thank you for reminding me that it's never too late to do the right thing. Naomi takes Ruth's hand, squeezes it gently. We all start somewhere. Ruth, next time, maybe you'll be the one to speak first. Across the aisle, Colin Fraser gathers his things, packing up as if he can outrun his discomfort. Before he leaves, he stops by Naomi's row. Dr. Sinclair, I was wrong. I won't forget it. Naomi studies him for a moment, then nods. Don't just remember, act differently. That's what matters. As the announcement comes that they are beginning descent, the cabin is quiet again. Naomi buckles her seatbelt, feeling a curious mixture of weariness and anticipation. She's not sure what's waiting on the ground, but she knows this story has already left the plane. Her phone buzzes again, this time from Morgan Lee, a journalist Naomi respects. Just landed in San Francisco. Would you be willing to talk? This could help a lot of people. Naomi reads the message, considering. She thinks of Eva at home, her mother's legacy, her own journey. She thinks of the faces she's seen today, some kind, some cruel, all very real. She writes back, let's talk. The world needs the truth. As the plane dips below the clouds, city lights sparkle. Below San Francisco awake, alive, and waiting. Naomi straightens her jacket, gathers her things, and prepares to meet the new world she's helped create. She doesn't feel like a hero. She just feels human. And for the first time all day, that feels like enough. The moment the plane's wheels touch down in San Francisco, a ripple of anticipation moves through the cabin. Naomi feels it in her bones, the sense that something has shifted for good, not just for herself, but for everyone who watched what unfolded. As the plane rolls to a stop at the gate, phones light up all around her. News alerts, texts, emails, all demanding her attention. Naomi breathes in deeply, holding herself steady for what comes next. Alex Kim, appears at her seat, offering a final, respectful nod. "Thank you for your patience and your strength today, Dr. Sinclair. I hope we meet again, under better circumstances." Naomi smiles, the fatigue showing at the corners of her eyes. "Thank you. Alex, you did what you could. That matters." Megan Porter stands by the galley, eyes downcast but resolute. She offers Naomi a quiet, sincere apology as she passes. Naomi nods. Actions speak louder than words. "Megan, you have a chance now to make things right for the next person." The cabin crew opens the doors and the passengers begin to file out. Ruth Chandler pauses at Naomi's row. "For what it's worth, Dr. Sinclair, I'll be telling everyone I know about what happened here. I'm sorry for my silence." Naomi reaches out, squeezing Ruth's hand gently. Change begins with honest conversation. "Ruth, thank you." As Naomi steps into the jet bridge, she feels the eyes of the world on her. The terminal is abuzz. A few passengers recognize her from the live stream or from news alerts already breaking online. She keeps her chin up, moving with purpose, but not haste. At baggage claim, she is greeted by Jada Brooks, who rushes forward, enveloping Naomi in a hug. The two women stand together, a living testament to resilience and sisterhood. Jada's voice is trembling but proud. "You did it, Naomi. You made them see." Naomi closes her eyes for a moment, letting the stress of the day melt away in Jada's embrace. She thinks of all the times she and Jada had dreamed together, plotted out their futures on late-night phone calls and long car rides. For both of them, this moment is bigger than a single victory. It is a signal that things can change. Nearby, a camera flashes. A reporter calls Naomi's name, but she waves them off politely. Not yet, she thinks. Let the story breathe. She retrieves her bag, turns to find Deshaun Miles waiting by the carousel. He offers a fist bump. "You are the calm in the storm, Dr. Sinclair. I'll keep sharing the video. People need to see what happened." Naomi's smile is both grateful and sad. "Thank you, Deshaun. Keep telling the truth. That's how we win." As she steps into the arrivals hall, Naomi's phone buzzes messages from board members, allies, strangers offering support, and of course, media requests. Her inbox is a torrent interview offers from major networks, requests from advocacy groups, even apologies from executives at Vanguard Airlines. There are apologies from people she hasn't spoken to in years, from colleagues who watched in real time and realized their own complicity. Jada scrolls through her own phone. "You've gone viral," she says, her voice half in awe, half in warning. Naomi glances at the trending hashtags, socialjustice at 30K feet. Naomi Sinclair. We belonger. A text comes from Captain Rivera. "Please know that your suggestions are being implemented. There will be real accountability. We've launched a full investigation, and you will be kept informed at every step." Naomi is moved. She types a reply. "Thank you, Captain. Real change needs real transparency. I look forward to seeing the results." At the curb, a car is waiting for them. Naomi slides in beside Jada, the city moving past in a blur. She feels both relief and a heavy responsibility. The fight isn't over. If anything, it's only just begun. She thinks of Eva, who will grow up in a world where her mother's story is now part of the public consciousness. She imagines the conversations that will ripple out from this day across boardrooms, flight schools, training centers, and kitchen tables. Jada breaks the silence. "What are you going to do next?" Naomi looks out the window, city lights blurring into a mosaic of hope and uncertainty. "First, I'll sleep. Then I'll call Morgan Lee. Tell my story and make sure it doesn't get spun. Then I'll keep pushing until this isn't news anymore. Until it's just the way things are." Jada nods, understanding. The car pulls up to their hotel. Before Naomi steps out, she turns to Jada, voice low and sure. "We belong everywhere. Jada, every seat, every room." Inside the hotel lobby, staff recognize Naomi and Jada from the news. A front desk clerk offers a free upgrade, but Naomi waves it off. No special treatment. Please, just respect. They ride the elevator in silence, the exhaustion settling in at last. When they reach their suite, Naomi sits on the edge of her bed, phone in hand, and records a voice memo to herself. She talks about the small moments: the plastic cup, the second ID check, Ruth's apology, Alex's kindness, Deshawn's bravery. She reflects on how easy it would have been to let herself become hard, bitter, to let anger take over. But she didn't. She chose to stay soft, to stay open. That night, Naomi dreams of planes of clouds and sunlight, of passengers taking their seats without fear, of voices raised not in protest, but in welcome. She wakes to the knowledge that the world is watching, and that she has helped, in her own quiet way, to move it forward. Morning breaks over San Francisco, sunlight flooding through the hotel windows as Naomi rises. She stands in silence for a long moment, watching the city stir below. There is a gentle heaviness in her limbs, the ache of a long battle fought and, for once, not lost. She takes a breath, lets it out slow. Today is a new day, but the story from the sky has not finished echoing. Her phone is full of notifications, news outlets, colleagues, strangers from around the world reaching out with words of support and with stories of their own. Naomi scrolls through messages, some grateful, some hopeful, some angry, some simply looking for guidance. It would be easy to get lost in the noise, but she chooses carefully who she answers, determined not to let the moment slip into spectacle. Jada Brooks sits across from her, still in pajamas, laptop open as she organizes responses, fields calls, and sifts through requests. Naomi smiles. The two women work in unspoken rhythm, understanding each other's needs without having to say a word. Jada pauses, looking up. "Are you sure you want to do all these interviews? You don't owe anyone your pain." Naomi shakes her head gently. "I don't owe them my pain. But maybe I owe them my honesty. If people see how this unfolds, really see it, they'll stop thinking it's rare. They'll realize it's just a part of life for too many of us." Her first interview is with Morgan Lee, the journalist whose message she read on the plane. Morgan is thoughtful, prepared, and most importantly, willing to listen. Naomi tells the story the way it happened, from the moment at the gate to the final apology on the plane. Every humiliation, every small kindness, every turning point. She is careful not to exaggerate, letting the truth stand on its own. "Why didn't you reveal your identity right away?" Morgan asks. "Wouldn't that have made it easier?" Naomi smiles, her gaze steady. "It would have been easier for me. Maybe, but it wouldn't have changed anything for the next person. I didn't want to teach them to be careful only when they know who's watching. I wanted them to change because it's right." Morgan's piece goes live that afternoon. Within hours, it's everywhere. Clips of Naomi's calm resistance, Deshawn's live stream, and Ruth's apology circulate online. National conversations ignite on TV panels, at office coffee stations, in classrooms. Airline executives make statements promising reform. Naomi receives invitations to speak on panels, at conferences, before lawmakers. But Naomi isn't interested in becoming a symbol. She is a mother, a daughter, a CIO. Her life is already full. She pushes for change from behind the scenes, working with advocacy groups and airline executives to build a passenger advocacy fund. She sits on panels about unconscious bias, lending her expertise not just as a target of discrimination, but as a leader who knows what real accountability looks like. Weeks pass, then months. Vanguard Airlines announces sweeping reforms, transparent reporting of all discrimination complaints, mandatory anti-bias training for all crew, real penalties for repeat offenders. Naomi's story is cited in industry reports, in legal reviews, in HR seminars nationwide. Passengers begin to document and share their experiences, both good and bad. The conversation grows. Other airlines follow suit, unwilling to be the next viral story. For the first time, Naomi sees numbers shift a real decrease in reported incidents, a rise in crew members stepping in to support vulnerable passengers, new programs for reporting and mediation. It isn't perfect, it isn't finished, but it's progress. For Naomi, the most meaningful changes are smaller, quieter. A letter arrives from Ruth Chandler's granddaughter, thanking Naomi for changing her grandmother's heart. A young black girl writes, "I want to be a CEO too, because you made them listen." Alex Kim messages her with news of his promotion and a promise that he'll always speak up for what's right. At home, Eva climbs into Naomi's lap after school. "Mama, did you really make them change the rules?" Naomi smiles, pulling her daughter close. "I didn't do it alone. Baby, I just showed them who we are." One evening, Naomi sits on her porch, watching the city lights. She thinks of every time she's been told she doesn't belong, every closed door, every doubting stare. She thinks of the little victories, the friends who spoke up, the bystanders who turned into allies, the strangers whose words of kindness made the hard moments softer. She knows there will be other flights, other moments of quiet resistance, other women and men who will have to claim their seat, hold their ground, and record their own stories. But she also knows the world is different now, even if only a little. She hopes the next time someone is told they don't belong, they remember what happened at 30,000 feet. That dignity isn't a luxury, and justice isn't optional, and belonging is not theirs to give or take. It's something you claim every time you refuse to move. Naomi closes her eyes, listening to the quiet, a different kind of quiet, one filled not with suspicion, but with the possibility of belonging. The story ends, not with triumph, but with resolve. The work is not finished, but it has begun. And in the gentle dawn, Naomi Sinclair sits with the knowledge that, yes, she belongs. She always did. If you felt anger, heartbreak, or hope during this story, you're not alone. Dr. Naomi Sinclair's journey is a mirror reflecting every person who's ever been told you don't belong, and every silent witness who wished they'd spoken up. Let this story be a call to love deeper, stand taller, and never accept the poison of prejudice as just the way things are. Because dignity is not a luxury, justice is not optional, and true belonging doesn't need permission. It demands courage, compassion, and action from us all. Remember, the smallest kindness can change the arc of someone's day. The smallest act of resistance can change the world. If this story moved you, if you believe everyone deserves a seat, then join us, like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that speak truth, challenge injustice, and lift every voice. Your story, your presence, your courage, they all matter. We'll see you in the next video.